Lecture 14. Lexical and Syntactical Features of Verse. Hello everyone and welcome to Lecture 14. Today, we will examine the lexical and syntactical features of verse, one of the most aesthetically rich and emotionally expressive forms of the English language. Verse, as a substyle of the belles lettres functional style, is distinguished not only by its rhythm and sound organization, but also by its specific vocabulary, imagery, and syntactic structure. Let us begin with lexical features, the words, imagery, and stylistic devices that define poetry. 1. Lexical features, imagery, and vocabulary. One of the key lexical characteristics of verse is imagery, the use of language that creates mental pictures or sensory impressions. Imagery is the cornerstone of poetic expression. It allows abstract ideas to become vivid, tangible, and emotionally resonant. As A.E. Derbyshire notes, an image is a linguistic device for providing contextual information, where words are infused with new meaning through their relation to analogues in context. In poetry, imagery is typically constructed through metaphor, simile, and metonymy. A metaphor is an implied comparison. For example, time is a thief. This line does not state that time is literally a thief, but the comparison evokes the idea that time steals moments from our lives. A simile makes the comparison explicit, using like or as. My love is like a red, red rose. Robert Burns. A metonymy involves substitution. The pen is mightier than the sword. Here, pen stands for writing or intellect, and sword stands for violence or force. Imagery in verse is often concentrated and multi-layered. It compresses complex emotional or philosophical concepts into minimal language. Take Shakespeare's famous lines, like to the lark at break of day arising from sullen earth, sings hymns at heaven's gate. This simile offers both a visual and an emotional image. We see the bird rising and feel the hope of ascension. 2. Types of imagery. Imagery can be classified into three main types: visual imagery, which appeals to our sense of sight, and a host of golden daffodils beside the lake, beneath the trees. Wordsworth. Oral imagery, built through onomatopoeia, the imitation of sounds and words, the moan of doves in immemorial elms, and murmuring of innumerable bees. Tennyson. Relational or abstract imagery, which creates associations through more complex logical or emotional connections. For instance, Men of England, heirs of glory, heroes of unwritten story, Shelley. Here, the poet builds identity through abstract and metaphorical lineage. The vocabulary of verse is often elevated, expressive, and emotionally charged. It may include rare or archaic words, neologisms, and combinations that reflect the author's unique voice. Additionally, poets tend to favor connotative over denotative meanings, giving words layers of implication. 3. Syntactical features of verse. Turning now to syntax. The sentence structure in poetry is rarely neutral or straightforward. Instead, it reflects the rhythmical, emotional, and conceptual needs of the poem. Some of the key syntactic features of verse include inversion, anastrophe, the rearrangement of word order for emphasis or metrical reasons. Bright is the ring of words, when the right man rings them. Robert Louis Stevenson. Normally we would say the ring of words is bright, but the inversion emphasizes bright. Ellipsis, the omission of elements easily understood from context. Gone the sun. Although grammatically incomplete, it is emotionally full and stylistically effective. Parallelism and repetition, frequently used to create rhythm, emphasis, or contrast. I'll rise, I'll rise, I'll rise. Maya Angelou. Fragmented or abrupt syntax, used for emotional effect or modernist innovation. This is the way the world ends, not with a bang but a whimper. T.S. Eliot. Here, the syntactic flatness is intentional, conveying anticlimax and existential doubt. Another powerful tool in verse syntax is enjambment, the continuation of a sentence without a pause beyond the end of a line. For example, the woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep. Robert Frost. Enjambment sustains rhythm while adding tension and motion between lines. 4. Verse versus prose, lexical and syntactical contrast. Unlike prose, which tends toward clarity and linearity, verse emphasizes suggestiveness and ambiguity. While prose follows normative sentence structure, Poetry often bends grammar to suit its expressive goals. For instance, in prose we might say, "The man felt great joy upon seeing the sunrise." In poetry, the same idea could become, "Joy leapt within as dawn's fire kissed the sky." The difference lies not only in vocabulary, poetic diction versus neutral, but also in structure, shorter, rhythmic bursts versus complete clauses. 5. Modern tendencies. In modern poetry, especially from the 20th century onward, both lexical and syntactic norms are frequently subverted. Vocabulary becomes colloquial, incorporating slang, regionalisms, and irony. Syntax is often disrupted, mimicking thought processes rather than formal speech. So much depends upon a red wheel barrow, William Carlos Williams. This fragmentation is intentional, drawing the reader into a minimalist image-centered experience. Even punctuation and capitalization are used creatively or omitted altogether to reflect mood, tension, or fluid identity. Conclusion. To summarize, verse distinguishes itself through vivid and layered imagery, emotionally rich vocabulary, and flexible expressive syntax. Its beauty lies in how it stretches language, compressing thought into symbol, feeling into sound, and experience into rhythm. Mastery of these lexical and syntactic tools allows poets to turn language into an art form that transcends mere communication. Thank you for your attention. In our next lecture, we will move deeper into the syntactic and stylistic patterns found specifically in different subgenres of belles lettres, including drama and emotive prose.